Everybody speak now.
Hello.
All right, guys, we are running
Late.
a bit late because we're trying to make a little sign for what's your name again? No, for Israel, for Israel. One of our special guests. Oh, it says we're playing Super Smash Brothers.
It'll never not say
We're not playing Super Smash. All right, guys. I know we're running a bit late. It's because
It's been a day.
yeah, it's been a day. It was actually a pretty busy Sunday. It was a lot busier today in the store than it was yesterday, which is surprising. So we were just trying to get all these stencils, little names of ours ready. We already had ours. Gabriel already had his. If you guys don't remember Gabriel Torres, he is from our last podcast. Um, Here he is, English teacher. He actually is starting work or starting his classes tomorrow. Um, so everybody say good luck to Gabriel. He teaches high school, so even
More pressure.
more pressure. Um,
So-
everything you say or do will affect those students long term.
Yeah.
So don't mess
Do any of
them
your
up.
students watch any of this?
No, and I do not want them to. Just,
Send them an email.
just in case I say anything I should later regret. Right?
Let us know, guys, if you can hear us. Hopefully, I hope you can hear us. According to my dashboard here, you guys can hear us, but I'm hoping there's no echoes. Well, you know what? I could just check on my phone. And with your comments away, we can see them. I see no comments yet, but
Let us know if there's an echo. Let us know if you hear any weird sounds.
okay, yeah, it sounds pretty clear. Alexis, thank you for watching.
Scooch it a little bit this way.
I hear Gabriel. I'm trying to. All right, everything looks good. Oh, we can look at it like this. More back. There. You didn't even give him like a profession or anything.
Give me the marker.
It's a baby. No, it's a baby. That's
So we have co-hosts and co-hosts,
yes. Me and
English teacher, and
Kaboom employee or
employee of the month.
employee of the month?
no.
Oh.
Kidding.
Do you guys have an employee of the month?
We're thinking about
You
it.
should put expecting.
Expected employee of the month.
No.
No, I'm not gonna put that.
Expected to be the
Do I
father.
just put employee?
Yes.
Just
Kaboom employee. They're so ugly. Just kidding. All right, guys. I know we were supposed to start like 20,000 minutes ago, but
employee.
all right. So
See, this is
Two E's, right?
no, I'm horrible.
Does employee have two E's?
you're an English.
I do not want to admit how horrible of a speller I am. By the way, Hemingway and Fitzgerald, my favorite authors, were horrible spellers. That's why I have no shame in being a horrible speller.
Back then, there was no spell check.
Oh, it was an error.
I hate to be.
Yeah. Fitzgerald didn't even use AND. He just used a plus sign every time.
Wow.
Fun fact. You can see that in all his personal letters.
Back.
Your text is so different.
Can you?
You know what? We're gonna talk about the Great Gatsby. Nah, just kidding.
all the cards in the books push them a little more back. So you guys can so everything can.
You said everything looked great.
Not anymore.
We changed our mind.
And you can push the Kaboomtube pick of the week closer to the books. All right, it's perfect. This is the most perfect I've ever seen. All right, guys. So let us begin today. Kaboomtube Podcast. We already said that. All right. Well, so like I mentioned, we have Gabriel Torres, one of our special guests. Another special guest, Israel Cervantes. He's one of the Kaboom employees.
Hello.
It's his last week working with us.
No, it's not. Please stop joking about that.
Depending on how today goes, might be his last day.
Just kidding. And then of course myself, Isaac. You're supposed to say your name.
Matt.
I know who you are.
I am Matt.
Everyone just started clapping when they play.
It's like when Kramer walks in Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Alejandro says LOL. Erasmo says Israel will be missed greatly.
I'm not leaving. Okay.
All right, so Matt, you want to do the honors of what today's topic is?
The topic of the day will be Vigilantes and Conflicts. And the cool thing about that is we're kind of cutting, because you could include characters like Batman in that. So what we're doing is kind of cutting out those characters and focusing specifically on the realistic, or at least more realistic, vigilantes that actually take no prisoners. The ones that are a little bit more controversial. And we're choosing one from each publisher. So from DC, we're going to use Rorschach. We think he's probably the best example of a take no prisoners vigilante. And of course, Marvel, probably the most famous of the type, is the Punisher. So we're going to be using the Punisher for Marvel. And then for representing the independent comics, we're going to be using Dylan Cross from Killer Be Killed. And we're going to touch on all three of these characters, discuss the implications of what they do, how they reflect the world and and society at large, and also just discuss like the kind of mind that drives itself to do these things and how people feel about them. What is the appeal is the big thing as well, because there are people who feel uncomfortable with these types of characters, but there is a massive appeal for them. So I think all of that is worth discussing, and that's going to be the main topic for today. So I think, honestly, to start off, we should talk about the biggest of all three, the Punisher.
All right. So for those of you guys, take no prisoners, meaning they kill. The big K, they don't give them a second chance. They are the judge and the executioner. That's basically what that is.
The big sleep.
What? Did you say the Big Lebowski?
No, the big sleep. The big sleep.
Oh, the big sleep, yes. Permanent sleep. So, Punisher, one of the big ones, he got his family taken away from him, and he was an ex-military man and worked for the government, and it was the government who backstabbed him, I suppose.
That's what it was in the TV show.
Yeah. What is it in the comics?
In the comic books, they were just having picnic in a park,
In
and
the gangs.
they were caught in crossfire between two rival criminal like organizations.
Okay.
So they weren't even supposed to be there. There was nobody who was. It's a lot like how Batman's parents were killed. That they were just at the wrong.
So it was random.
Totally random.
I was going by the John Travolta movie, which I love, by the way.
Yeah, no,
I love that movie.
Yeah. I thought you say John Travolta movie. He's not even the main character. Yeah, I forgot what the actor's name was. Tristan says, "What's up, Isaac and Matt? Here to talk about anti-heroes. What about Israel and Gabriel?" Tristan, say hi to them.
Okay.
Tristan.
We're not the fan favorites yet.
No, they will be. Yeah.
And poor Israel is leaving us soon, so.
I'm not leaving.
And then we have Gabriel. He was here last time. Amir would be here as well, but he's out. He's busy. Hopefully we'll have him next time. And then we'll see. Maybe one day we can have like 5 guests. I don't know. We'll have a whole panel of people. Someday we'll get there. We'll get there someday. Apply to be a guest at Kaboomtube. Volunteer.
I've never seen that Punisher movie actually.
Which one?
Yeah, the one that you're talking
First
about.
one with
The one
John
with
Travolta.
I've never
It's
seen
really
it.
good.
The first one is the Dolph Lundgren.
I've never.
Really? There's one before the Travolta one?
Yeah, I think
Is it the Punisher Warzone or something like
Oh,
that?
that's a sequel,
That's the next one.
which is a completely different actor. But
It's
uh,
not good.
Tristan says, "What's up, Israel and Gabriel?
What's up?
Hey!
Sorry to see you go, Israel." No,
I'm
he
not-
didn't say that. He didn't say that.
So in the comics, the Punisher family just gets murdered randomly. Is it like the entire family or just like his
Yeah.
core family?
It's his 2 kids that are caught in all.
So he goes on this, I guess if you want to say vigilante work that he does. He goes out.
Batman war.
Yeah, and he kills them. That's his thing. I know in the TV show they have this whole courtroom scene of a Daredevil, and it's super great.
Great scene.
And they try to use
Amazing scene.
they try to use that he has PTSD and that he's has this mental issue that makes him kill people or whatever. And that's the argument that's used. And he before they go on trial. I'm just kind of a spoiler if you guys haven't seen Daredevil, but
It's been out forever.
before they go out on trial and they're discussing his options, he says that would be offensive, and
Yeah,
then
to people who
to
really are
people who really are mentally ill and stuff, and that's where you find out that it's not a mental thing.
Yeah, this
It's
isn't a guy who is doing this because he's damaged. Really.
Because he
He's
hears
doing
voices.
it because
that's his
that's
philosophy.
who he is. It's very interesting.
Tristan,
I-
I did it because I like
Yeah.
it. I love it. I love that scene so much. I've seen it
But
too many
talking
times.
about mentally ill, I think that's a good segue to these other two. Because
Yes.
these two, boy, they have issues.
Yeah. They're insane.
No, yeah.
Well, very
I
much
know
so.
Dylan Cross.
Is probably the craziest.
So, do we start with Rorschach?
Let's get into
Alrighty. So Rorschach, uh, so traumatized past, very traumatized, really harsh childhood led him on the path of being a vigilante, and uses that pain from being from his childhood to pretty much try to get even with the world through by punishing criminals. If you've seen the movie, you see a little bit, but if you read the comics, you see that this guy is a lot more how do you call it, extreme. There's even a section where he's seeing some teenagers spraying with using spray cans to put graffiti on a wall, and he's like, make a mental note, look for these kids later, teach them a lesson. It's like it's that extreme, right? Even the smallest
like
act of misdeed is enough for him to be in the hunt for you.
Wow. No, that's terrifying because that's such a huge like segue from the Punisher. His mindset. I do have a question about Rorschach though,
go ahead.
and I should preface by saying I have not read the Watchmen series. I have seen the movie, but my question is, in one scene in the movie, he talks about his mask being his true face, where whatever is under it, he does not view as who he is. Is that similar in the comic series where he he wants to always wear it essentially?
Yeah, in the comics, it's very similar to that. Almost word for word for some parts.
Mhm.
And the way it's explained in the comics is that he wants to see a face when he looks into the mirror that he can bear to look at.
Yeah.
And because he's such a hardcore misanthrope, as it's like somebody who just hates people, he doesn't like to see a person's face when he looks at himself in the mirror. So he puts on the mask, and the mask in itself represents his philosophy. The idea that there is no gray, like moral gray zone. There's only black and white, good and evil. So you see that on his mask reflected. You see the ink is like always moving and shifting, but never merging and creating a new color, never
Yeah.
going gray, because it's not like that. That's not life to him. And honestly, that kind of philosophy, you can tell he lives by it because life is so complex and so difficult. So to sort of box it into two simple terms allows him to survive technically, because he could not survive thinking maybe my mom treated me like garbage because she had problems. It's way too hard for him to look at the world that complexly. So he looks at it in just the simple terms of she did that because she was bad. And if she's bad, she should be punished.
It's just a horrible coping mechanism.
Yeah, that's
Tristan
the whole
says,
thing.
Israel, you're not the only one, Israel. I haven't read Watchmen. See, you're not the
Yeah,
only
see?
Tristan, who has read a cajillion books,
I
hasn't
would
read
wait.
Watchmen.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
would
no,
wait
Tristan,
a
I would wait until you're 30 to read Watchmen.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Mature audiences, definitely mature audiences. Both of them. Both of them are definitely mature audiences.
Mature than me. I mean, Punisher, I guess, but since he started off
It
during
depends
the
on- it depends on
like, if
what
it's
you
old stuff like old John Romita like art style Punisher, that was when they had the comic code, so there wasn't really much killing
The only time Punisher got
when
to
they did the
be-
Max.
Yes, exactly. They did Punisher Max in the 2000s, and that's when they relaunched the character. They had previously relaunched him.
Is that with Garth Ennis?
Yes, Garth Ennis.
Who did The Boys?
Yeah, should
So
basically.
that basically narrows it down. Well, same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah, like Punisher, he was relaunched in Marvel Knights first, which still was like a hard PG-13.
Even the one that's out right now, the recent one, is still pretty.
Oh, that one is like it even has like a little thing like, hey, maybe not the kiddos.
Yeah, but it's like it's still. Christian says, "Don't worry, I'm turning 18 next year." so I'll be able to read Watchmen later on. No, Tristan, when you're 45 is when you're gonna read the
When
Watchmen.
you're on your deathbed is when you say,
Actually,
"Let me watch them."
we were talking about this in the Watchmen podcast. It's like you should read it when you're a little bit mature, but then put it down and definitely revisit it 5 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna
Like,
feel different every time you read it. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
because
So I
as you
guess-
grow, you have like a different mindset.
You go through more understanding of like people in the world.
but definitely not something for beginners. No,
Yeah,
like
especially
Well,
'cause-
Tristan has read a lot. I do
Yeah.
know where he's probably already built up an idea of who and how they write, and
yeah, because
I feel like he's an experienced reader. This is a compliment to you, Tristan.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was your age, I did not read that much.
you would be experienced enough to understand it's like the way it deconstructs superheroes, particularly. So
All right, so now, Gabriel, would you like to talk about Kill or Be Killed since it's
Yeah.
fresh in your brain
so.
and you and Israel can discuss?
So I read Watchmen in 24 hours. It was horrible. It felt like it never ended. It was so complex. This one, mature content, but so easy to navigate through this world. Very easy. I read it in like 3 or 4 hours, all 4 volumes of it. So really easy to navigate. They deal with like a core set of characters, and it's a really easy premise to go through. Dylan Cross tried to commit suicide at the beginning. He is tortured by, he has some mental issues that are later explored. Tries to commit suicide by throwing himself off a
Trigger
building.
warning for any.
Yeah, trigger warning for
It's
everyone who is
definitely
sensitive.
trigger.
Yeah, so for everybody who's watching, right, since we're dealing with mature content, we'll be touching a lot of sensitive issues. So if you're sensitive for that, drop a like and you you can do what you want with the rest of your night. But if not, please stick around, right? Definitely give a like though, whatever you
Gabriel's
do.
in charge today.
And so he falls. His fall is broken. He falls on snow. It's a snowy day, and he's like, "I lived. I've survived." And as many survivors from instances where they have tried to commit suicide, it's like gives them a new perspective on life, and it's like, what did I try to do? I was being so stupid. It actually says in the comic, and this is actually just FYI, this is actually from a real life survivor who attempt to commit suicide himself like 20 years ago from the Golden Gate Bridge in New York. This is real, by the way. He said that the moment he jumped, he regretted it and that he realized, you know what, I shouldn't be doing this. Dylan Cross, similar experience. So he wakes up and is like, I'm a new man. I'm going to live life. I'm going to enjoy life. And all of a sudden, a demon appears. And the demon tells him, I'm the one that saved your life. You better kill for me. But you can only kill bad people. And you have to kill at least one person a month, and if you kill that one person, I'll spare your life that month. But don't kill anyone in that month, and I'll take you with me. And that leads him in the road as a vigilante where he has to pay that debt to
And
the
I know you
demon.
guys are probably thinking like, oh, what if he's crazy? And like there in the beginning he doesn't believe it. He's like, maybe I'm just cuckoo or whatever. So he doesn't do it. And each day that the days go by, he ends up getting ill.
Yeah, and then
And he ends up realizing that he's near death. Like, and then he's like, and then the moment he finally kills someone, he's like, oh,
he gets better.
and it's like, okay, he's like, so maybe it's
true.
real. But as you read the story, it just gets better and better. The stakes get higher and higher as they should. And it's by Ed Brubaker and fantastic writer and the artist Sean Phillips. Just to narrow it down on who Ed Brubaker is, he's done a whole bunch of stuff that Matt can give you like a 10-page essay on. But
my favorite writer.
for the more mainstream thing that he's done is the Winter Soldier
Yeah.
storyline for Captain America. So he is, would you say, the co-creator of the Winter Soldier? I guess not Bucky because Bucky's been around, but like the creator of the idea of Bucky coming back and being a Winter Soldier
is the character in and of itself. So
which is why the Winter Soldier movie is the best Captain America movie in the MCU.
You think so?
Facts.
You think so?
Facts.
I think it is.
It is.
A really
It's
good one.
so
I really
great.
do that.
I
All
love
the
it.
Captain America movies, pretty much.
They are. Honestly, I know the first one is considered to be the weakest, but I love the first one too.
Like this one's so good.
I love the first one.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think I prefer that one over the Winter Soldier.
That's fine, but
Yeah, that's fine.
That's
But they're good.
Your opinion is wrong. No, I'm kidding.
welcome to the podcast.
Just kidding. No, they're all good. I love them all.
Speaking of Captain America, I hear that somebody the Punisher would never kill.
Why not?
The Punisher respects him.
Yeah, it's like his. Would you say idol? I would say.
Yeah, in the what's it called? In the comic books, they sort of lean into the fact that he sort of idolized Captain America as a hero, and maybe even used him as a sort of moral compass sort of help him figure things out. Because the problem with Frank Castle is that from the get go, we're not talking about somebody who lived a horrible life, and because of that, he developed this very dark perspective. He just grew up very bitter, very cold, and with this sort of hole in his heart that he can't fill. And he doesn't know how to fill it. But he knows that when people do horrible things to other people, that it fills him with so much anger, and that when he takes it out on them, he feels a little bit better. So it's a lot like that. So he knows he's not okay in that respect. He is more put together than I'd say these two.
Yeah.
But he's still not like completely. He's just one of those types of characters who is completely aware of what he's doing, and he's not crazy like, let's say, the Joker. The Joker is completely crazy and like nuts. But this is someone who's completely conscious of all of the decisions he's making, and he doesn't fall back on a mental illness like that's like driving him in any way. He's
But-
just cold.
But I think it's so ironic that I didn't know that about the Punisher and Captain America, because I'm sure like to the Punisher is like this guy entitled is the embodiment of justice and the way he is, everything. He's genuine. It really reminds me of Rorschach. I feel he has that same view for the Joker, for the totally
Comedian.
opposite way. The comedians. Yes, thank you, the comedian. But
I
for
feel
the
like you did
opposite,
this during the Watchmen podcast too.
yeah, and maybe I did.
Yeah, no.
The comedian, which was like for totally opposite reasons, were like Rorschach hates people that behave one way and then act behind the scenes another way.
Yeah, he hates it.
He respects the fact that he's bad, genuinely.
Like he's bad, he knows he's bad, and he owns it all the way to his death.
Empathizes.
Yeah.
As in, like, he knows the reason why he does these things. The reason why the comedian does these things is that he has a similar like worldview as Rorschach. As in, like, we're all just bugs on a spinning ball of dirt, and there's nothing out there. There's no God. There's no like light at the end of the tunnel. There's nothing to say that there's a reason why all these bad things happen in life. That there's a plan. It's just us, and it's a joke, and it's miserable, and they both feel that way. So Rorschach appreciates that in the comedian, that he's a guy who takes life exactly for what it is, and for the comedian, he just sees life as a buffet.
So
It's like, I can just do whatever I want because I know this is all a joke and none of this matters.
So touching back on the vigilantes who kill, when did they start doing that in comics? It wasn't the Punisher. I'm pretty sure there was like
People
a
before.
character before that.
Well, if you go as far back as pulp comics, like the big characters, like the Shadow, for example, that's way back, like 1930.
And did he kill?
Yes, he killed.
I thought he was like a Batman type.
And Batman
Character.
killed people. In the
At
start.
the beginning, you have to remember Batman had a gun, right?
Batman had a gun.
I thought it was a
he had
grappling
bat
hook.
plan.
You know.
Somebody.
Speaking of that,
Yeah,
you guys continue talking.
yeah. I've always found that so weird. Where like we always see everything like Batman. Oh, no guns. But even like in the movies, you see these giant like contraption helicopter. Like they have guns on them. Like, what do you mean?
Well, I think it depends on which.
If you guys want to read Batman's early beginnings,
Oh yeah.
Detective Comics 27,
Oh,
right here.
nice.
This will be available on Tuesday.
And
It's
not
a
reprint.
facsimile, but it looks real.
Oh, it's not a reprint, right?
Not a reprint.
We have like
Real. Real. I swear
Yeah.
that is real.
It's Detective Comics 27.
He's
That's-
gonna be here. Like,
That's how Israel makes his sales now, man.
no,
Giving
this
you a
is-
bargain.
That's it's a reprint. Don't listen to Israel. It has all the real ads though from back in the day.
That's so
It's
cool.
Yeah, that's cool. All,
The
all
paper.
all the covers that they've been doing.
the paper on the inside is similar to how it used to be during the golden age, like a newspaper type material. But yeah, this will be available on DC's new comic book day, which is on Tuesday.
So
This Tuesday.
I have a really quick fun fact story. You should do this. Maybe you get lucky. So when I went to North Carolina for a comic book convention, I saw the first appearance of Superman, right? Action Comics #1, and it was signed by Henry Cavill, right? And when I saw it, I saw the label, the yellow label, and it said Action Comics #1. Nowhere did it say it was a reprint. So I asked the stutter what happened. They were like, "Oh, they messed up the label. It's labeled as First Action Comics, as if it was the original one, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's a reprint, but it's labeled as a comic Action Comics 9.8.
Wow.
So
It's such a
just
bad like.
Can't you look up on CGC like with the
Yeah,
numbers?
I'm pretty sure.
So somebody's like in trouble, right?
Yeah.
A lot of instances with CGCs. I always see photos of it in like Facebook groups where they send like two books, like an old one and like a new one, and then they come back and they accidentally swap like the casing. So the old one would say like Edge of Spider-Verse #1 9.8, and it's like a 1964 comic, and then the other one says like Fantastic Four #20, and it's like a 3.5, and it's like an Edge of Spider-Verse.
so they crack it and swap them.
No, but they have to send them back, and then
Oh,
they,
okay,
they
gotcha.
fix it, but it's supposed to be free. But
I saw the weirdest thing in San Antonio, and I know we're getting off topic, but like I haven't mentioned this to any of you guys. So I went to a comic book store in San Antonio, and they had a blue label signed first appearance of Deadpool by Robert by Liefeld, and I asked them, wait, it's signed. Why doesn't it have a green label or a yellow label? Oh, well, the person who did this cracked open the CGC case, got the comic signed, and just put it back in the case and sealed it. And I was like, and you're selling it like that? Yeah,
Doesn't that negate like the whole thing of?
exactly.
It's like exposed in the air. Right?
Yeah.
It's like could be down a grade. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were still selling it as if it was a nine point
just
something.
no COA.
Yeah, with no COA,
I
nothing.
wouldn't trust that.
No.
No, they were like, I was like, how much is it, right?
The better pieces.
And they were like it's $600. I was like, okay, thank you very much. I'll just leave it there.
$600.
Super sketchy, by the way,
Yeah.
right?
Call them out.
Call
No,
it the
I'm kidding.
store.
Say
No,
what
no,
they
no,
want.
no. I won't call it that.
No, we don't do that.
I might go back.
But doesn't even support us.
You call them out next time you go
Be on
there.
their podcast, Gabriel. Just kidding. All right. So, Kill or Be Killed, Watchmen, Punisher, or Rorschach, Punisher. They all kill people. I want to say in the Daredevil TV show. I keep referencing it, but
So is Punisher your favorite, Isaac? Out of these three?
I mean, my favorite what? Like my favorite
Vigilante out of these three.
Your
Oh,
favorite
okay.
murderer.
What's your favorite? There you go.
My favorite what?
Your favorite murderer.
That's a really bad thing to say. But I don't have a favorite person. A favorite story, I guess. I did enjoy Kill or Be Killed. It was really good. Um, it's a depressed man, and that's something that always attracts me is depression. Just kidding. Punisher. I mean, I get it, but it's more of like something I read just because it's cool. Not him killing, but like him being the Punisher. I mean, the Punisher's cool. Look at him, like John Bertha. Like I'm the big bad Punisher. Like I love that. Like it's so good. Rorschach, he just looks cool because he has that mask in the trench coat. Looks like a detective. I think he looks cool.
Mhm.
But yeah, obviously, I would say Rorschach is the most craziest in my opinion of the three.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys think.
I would say
Who's your favorite, Matt?
probably Dylan.
Dylan. Why? Why over Rorschach?
Yeah, because like Rorschach is like Rorschach is the character that sort of represents what happens when you take a hard-edged superhero and thrust them into the real world because they can't work. And that's the whole point of his character towards the end. The idea of no compromise, not even in the face of Armageddon, like he always says. And that's because if you look at the way, like I was mentioning earlier, how comic books always present good guys and bad guys, like go as far back as like the old 60s comics and everything, and like Batman fighting guys who are clearly bad, like, oh, I'm the Mad Monk, and these are my beasts, my monster men, and all that stuff. That's like really early Batman. It's clear this guy's bad, and this other guy, Batman, is good. And because of that, like Rorschach represents how you take that and you put it in reality, and it doesn't work because bad people don't technically exist in reality, nor do good people. People of all kinds do good things and bad things. So, like I said, that whole gray zone exists. The whole world is just gray, and the black and white doesn't exist, and it's just his way of trying to cope with how difficult
So
the
you
world
prefer him because he murders the least.
is. No, like I said,
I feel like you're trying to say, right? Like even see in the comics, he does his research.
yeah,
Like
Dylan is very much what a real person would do. Rorschach is more of a metaphor, a metaphor for superheroes in the real world, as in like the whole thing of like I said about no compromise. That's why at the end he dies.
Oh, spoiler alert!
Spoiler
I
alert.
didn't want to talk about it.
Ruined it for me.
Well,
I was gonna make no.
Oh, I thought you were talking about this. Oh, okay.
Never
Let's
said
move.
fucking watch it.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
talking about-
Okay,
Why
okay.
are you asking us, Gabriel? What's the host? We're supposed to be asking y'all.
okay, well, we're waiting our turn.
It's
We're
like,
waiting our turn.
it's like Jimmy starts asking the host questions and they get
It's because Conan is better.
Don't call him out. He's our next week's act. Our next week's act.
Gabriel show now.
Oh, sure.
Gabriel 2, but just kidding.
My point is that Rorschach, when he dies at the end, it's because he can no longer live in the world. He says the whole thing of like, no, I gotta go tell all the people. I'm not gonna go into too many details in case you want to read the book, but he does die, and he's gonna try and expose a big lie, and that lie is what's gonna save the world, basically. So everybody's like, you can't tell anybody. If you do, the world is gonna end, basically. And he's like, no, it was wrong, and because of that, I can't compromise in my beliefs. It was wrong, and it has to be punished. Like, it has to be fixed. And then he gets like blown up by another character.
So the blue.
Yeah.
So yeah, he gets blown up for his beliefs, but at that point, his character really is at the end of his rope. This is a guy who, like I said, he's forcing himself to be alive, really, because his life is so horrible. The only way he can live is by playing pretend in a crazy costume, beating people to death that he thinks are bad people, and it's just so insane. And he knows that. And when it gets to the end, he just can't deal with it anymore. And I think he looks towards the guy who's going to kill him, as in, like, please just do it already. Just do it. Like, I can't do this anymore. And it's because that is what a real superhero would be like in the real world. In the real world, if you got a character like Batman who tries to be simple, like, that guy's bad, that guy's good, he would be just like Rorschach in a few years. At the very end, he'd be like, just put me out of my misery. I can't do this.
So
Yeah, reality can't be simplified in those terms. So I love Rorschach for that. That was a long answer.
get used to it, guys.
Because I didn't even get to talk about Dylan because.
So I haven't seen or read this, but Tristan says my favorite is Dylan from Killer Be Killed because his
nice.
story is kind of similar to Death Note. Never seen.
Never seen it. I get that. I get that.
Because
Tristan.
you guys have seen Death Note or read.
Yeah. They both work with a demon, right? They like they know. Oh, okay. I said something already. Oh,
Yeah,
go for it.
except for sorry, this is like where it really pop off.
Oh, shine, Israel. So that's a good. Alright, so yeah.
In Death Note, you have something called a Shinigami. Shinigami is basically a god of death. Just quick synopsis: main character gets this book that falls out of the sky, dropped by Shinigami. He can then write name in the book that person will die. He can mark out the way they die, and if not, they just die by a heart attack. But he has to write their name, has to think of their face. So I get what he's saying, where it's very similar in the sense that it's a demon, but it's not similar in the sense that, again, I haven't read this. Killer Be Killed, he has to physically go out and like kill people.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does it himself.
Yeah.
And in this one, he writes it in the
But
book.
yeah, in Death Note, in his mind, he has like his hands clean because he's just writing a name. You know,
So they die by natural causes or what?
You can make it appear that way.
You can make it appear that way, or if you just write their name, they die of a heart attack.
So if he wanted, would he be able to write like, gets mugged in the street? And
Yeah.
Bang.
He can describe or write the exact ways he is going to.
But I think a really good similarity, and I know this because I've seen the anime and I watched this, right? So Light, the moment he writes the first name, he sentences himself, right?
Mhm.
Where's the punishment again? Do you remember for like writing a name in the book?
For writing,
The character's name is Light.
Light.
Light Yagami is his name.
Yeah. What's the punishment again?
There's a punishment that whenever you die, you can neither go to heaven nor hell. You are essentially sent to a non-existent world. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, but also like it cuts their life by a certain amount of time too, right?
No.
What is it?
No. There's a deal you can make called the Shinigami Eyes. Where
Oh, there you
can
go.
make a deal with the Shinigami that's basically watching over you, who's that Death
So who
Note.
can make the person that's
The
gonna
person
die?
that the
The
person.
the
So
person
is the
who's
person that's gonna die aware that they're dying because someone wrote their name in the
No, they
book?
do
no,
not.
no, no, no. But no, the person who makes the deal is in the show Light, or he doesn't make the deal. Spoiler alert.
He can make a deal.
With the Shinigami to get the Shinigami eyes, but for payment, the Shinigami takes half his life.
That would be
Yeah,
funny.
so
Like,
if-
he was only gonna ever live like
Yeah.
years.
So if he was supposed to live 20 years, he would
No.
only then 10.
So was the main similarity
Oh,
between
sorry. What I was trying to say, and I got caught up with that. Right? Is also Dylan. His fate is sealed when he realizes. Spoiler alert for like the people who haven't read this. When he realizes there's no demon, it's me. I'm the one that wants to kill. Right? So both characters make aware decisions of, you know what? I have the power to kill people. It's within my power now. And it's at that moment when they fully embrace that their state is sealed.
Yeah.
Their fate is sealed.
Yeah,
Sorry.
except Light in Death Note, he wants to become a god. Like that's
Yeah.
that's his end.
He was nuts.
So yeah, he's more of like
He's evil.
yeah he
so the main character is a bad guy?
you
He
can
turns into-
you
Yeah.
can say
He
that.
turns into a bad guy.
You can say he's a bad guy. A
Especially
lot of
when he eats
people,
chips.
huh?
right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
When
when
he's-
he eats chips, yeah. Because what he does
do that.
is he sees people get arrested like on TV and news reports, and he'll write the name down, stuff like that, because they showed like the face and everything. So he kills prisoners.
So you guys
bad
would say that
guys.
there's a very strong comparison.
Yes.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, but the what I was saying is that the Dylan, right, is his name?
Yes.
Yeah.
That Dylan, I don't think he's looking to gain any sort of like power. He like
Matt, what do you think?
from what I understand, he's just trying to
No,
live.
I think that's why, like, of all of these guys, like, I love Dylan the most because he's the most relatable and the most human. Like, the Punisher is a killing machine that's like so cold and removed from humanity. Rorschach, like I said, he's a metaphor for the superhero in the real world.
Yeah.
And Dylan is a real person in the real world wrestling with this urge that he has and doesn't know how to deal with it until he decides finally to take care of bad guys.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he only kills bad people and he does a whole bunch of like prep work. Like he'll read about stuff and see like, okay, this guy just pretty horrible scumbag and stuff like that. And then he'll do it. He doesn't gain anything out of it in any sort of
Except for the fact that he'll die. if he
yeah,
doesn't
but that's
do
the thing is you start to get into more of a philosophical kind of question there because he gets charged by the demon in the start that you have to kill once a month to live. And once you get towards like the end and you realize this demon is really just is a projection of his mind and everything, you start to think, okay, if that's what's happening, then this demon was really himself charging himself with this whole thing. And so what he's gaining from it isn't so much his power, but it's like sort of a peace, a sort of being content with being alive.
Yeah.
Like how I was saying with Rorschach, how he uses his philosophy to exist because he's just so miserable. It's the same way where Dylan just looks at the world and he sees how broken and messed up it is.
Yeah.
And by doing what he does, by attacking and killing criminals, people that he does so much work to sort of figure out these are bad guys, by doing that, he can live in the world a little bit better. Like he can sleep at night a little bit better. He doesn't know that at first that that's what's really happening. But when he gets towards the
Whereas in
end-
Death Note, it's all for self gain, and here
Yeah,
he's being selfless. Even that's how he passed away. He blocks a bullet for someone else.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's super relatable and is it's just a tragic character. So
Another
it's-
Death Note similarity, he gets the crazy girl. They both do.
Oh,
It's like a girl that is crazy and in love with them.
Yeah.
What's the girl's name?
Misa Misa.
Misa,
Or
and then
Misa Amane.
yeah, and then in Kill or Be Killed, it's
Kira? Kira.
but Kira is just a good girl.
Yeah, she's a great girl.
Wait,
And
the girl's name is Kira?
Yes.
Oh, that's
that's funny
Light's name in like that's the
That's
pseudo
his
name they give.
killer
Oh,
moniker.
wow.
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny because I remember when Kill or Be Killed was coming out, they I would read the back of each comic would have letters for to the editor type thing, except they were writing directly to Ed Brubaker.
Yeah.
So one of those letters said, "Hey, did you guys ever watch Death Note?"
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
And
kind
they
of cool.
said, because the name of the girlfriend is Kira, and Kira is the name that Light uses as like his like pseudonym as he kills people.
Yeah, or it was given to him by the general public actually,
Yeah,
like
there you go.
online forums. everybody was getting the English word killer and then just basically breaking it down to Kita. So he wasn't a fan of it because it called him a killer, but it was like, that's what the public wants.
Cool.
So
So
that's cool that
yeah, it came up, and he said, "No, that was not my intention. That's just interesting.
Yeah.
It happened."
I wonder if like afterwards he watched.
He probably he says that
read
he
into
doesn't watch anime. He doesn't watch anime or read manga or anything. But he did say like, well, I'll definitely take a look into it because now my curiosity is peaked.
Watch Death Note. It's a good
So
shit.
Tristan says, "Are we going to talk about any different Punisher storylines?"
That's something I do want to talk about.
So I mean, yeah, I mean it ties
But wait,
into.
Israel hasn't said his favorite one of the three.
Oh yes.
And I haven't said
Well,
my favorite one of the three.
I guess it's a good segue because I was going to say the Punisher.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the Punisher, the reason it's my favorite because he's just so. I've always been a fan of whether it's vigilantes or not. The hero or the character, I should say, because even bad guys can be like this, who are very calm and collected, and only when they do fight you see like the madness that's in them. And I think the actor's name leaves me from the show The Punisher. You
John
see it really
Bernthal?
well, like in those screams that he does. He's like, "Oh," and he like goes for the hit. So, but when you see him like walking towards this character, and he's just so calm and so almost as if he's thinking nothing in his head until he gets to, I guess, the bad guy that he's gonna put down. Let's say put down instead of kill. Yeah,
Race.
and from what I've read in some of the Punisher stuff that I have read, which isn't immense, I have seen that sort of very similar thing where he'll up to the facial expressions, like you'll see everything change once he's truly fighting, and then once he's done, it's almost like he's sort of gained back a sense of stability, I guess you could say. So I've always been a fan of that, where they're calm, collected until the point where they don't need to be.
Yeah.
He's that scene in the Dare. Is it Daredevil? I think it's Daredevil. Yeah. When when he goes to that guy that's like a rental person, it also gets very. I'm gonna try to make it as PG as I
The
can.
pawn shop guy?
Yeah, and he goes to the
Yeah.
pawn shop guy, and
Awesome
he's
scene.
just trying to get information. Like he's just being calm
Mhm.
about everything, and he's not looking for this guy. He's not trying to kill anyone at this moment. He's just trying to gain information from this pawn shop dealer who sold things, and he's trying to find out who'd you sell it to, who's their name. Like he's just trying to get information, and then after he gets what he wants, he's like, all right, well, that's it, and he's leaving, and the pawn shop guy being a
The
scumbag, I guess.
The scum of the earth.
Yeah, scum of the earth. He's like, hey, I got some DVDs for you, and they're adult movies is what he's asking, and he starts
When he's like, "Yeah, grannies."
yeah he starts naming things inappropriate, and then this is where it gets triggering.
Yes.
He starts going down the list of names, and
So let's just say he goes down an H, I'm guessing, right?
yeah, he goes he's like,
Because-
and there's one that references children, I suppose.
yeah, so it's
And then
like,
at that moment, he just stops walking because he's about to head to the door. So he's just like, he just takes a deep breath and he's like, all right. So once he hears that, he knows
Doesn't
that.
he flip the
Yeah, I
sign?
think
Yeah,
he
yeah,
flips the
yeah,
sign,
because
yeah.
he's already gonna leave. He's already got the information he wants. And then once he hears that, that's where he's just like, all right, well, this guy's definitely a bad guy for selling stuff like this. And then that's when he flips the sign
Mhm.
and he grabs like one of the things that are there, like a
The
bat.
bat.
And then he's like, oh yeah. And then the guy like doesn't see the
Oh,
sign.
I see that got your attention.
And then he's like, wait, and then he gets the thing. He's like, wait, what are you doing? And then he's like, what are you doing? And then it just cuts the scene. And then obviously he kills him. But there's like, I think that scene did such a great job because the whole time throughout that episode, we're just seeing Punisher as like a killer because they show that he put these bad guys in meat hooks and while they're still alive, they're feeling the pain. Like it's horrible, it's graphic. And then they show that scene, and then we're supposed to be like, okay, like now I'm conflicted. Like he's he because I mean you could say that this guy deserved what was coming to him, but not necessarily dead. We're not in we can't say that, but we can say that he deserved a bad thing because what he's doing.
Mhm.
And at that moment is when we realize, okay, maybe the Punisher isn't so bad, but he is.
That's the interesting.
actually, Dylan Cross gets, now that you brought that scene up, he gets a similar redemption and his first kill.
It's true.
Because he kills someone who believes is part of a ring that does that, right?
he
Uh,
killed him.
Not knowing about that.
Just the fact that he knew his little brother
Yeah.
when they were like really small.
Just to, I guess, just to give Israel a brief, and this is also kind of a spoiler for you guys too. If you haven't read it, there's multiple kills in Kill or Be Killed.
Yeah, so the first one
the first
is
one.
from, I'm trying to word this like the best way it's possible for the content matter. So he remembers a childhood friend that says his brother does things to him, his older brother. So now that he has to kill the first person, he thinks of that guy because of the actions of the older brother.
This was like years in advance. Like this
Yeah.
happened when he was a child.
When he was younger, now he's older, right?
He's using that as an excuse to like.
Now because of the actions of the older brother who's still alive, the younger brother, ended his own life, right? And that led to him saying, okay, this is gonna be his first victim. And he kills the older brother, and he's like, wait, what if that was a fake memory? What if that never happened? What if this guy was actually good? And then in the news the next day comes out that, like, thanks to that death, they discover a ring of people that dealt in bad things like
Yeah,
that.
it basically tied into a bigger thing than he thought, and it's like, all right, well,
It was literally the first person he killed, and it blew up into this whole thing.
it was on the news, and they were like,
Range
oh,
of people.
man dead who was responsible for a ring of inappropriate
And
things.
I think that helps the reader and the character itself think like, okay, this guy's onto something,
Some
right?
good came of it.
Like
Yeah,
some good came out of it.
basically. Thing I killed that guy.
Maybe she can
There's
do
a
it.
there's a very interesting panel there where I think when he's about to kill him, he mentions the little brother's name and he's like, remember this guy? Or he says like, oh, this is for this guy.
Mhm.
And then he just like stops. Like, he has like a reaction.
That's literally the second issue of Kill or Be Killed, where he does the first kill,
Yeah.
and he finally convinces himself to do it. I think that second issue, for me at least, is the best comic I've ever read. Like single issue.
Wow.
It's
That's
so,
a big thing to say, Matt.
I
Yeah,
never
it
read
is.
a comic,
Yeah.
But when I read that, it was paced so well, and when it got to the end, and like Isaac was saying, there's that part where he confronts the guy and he says, I think his name was Teddy, the friend that he knew that eventually took his life because
Let's see.
the other guy was his big brother taking advantage of him. We won't really say how that is, but I'm pretty sure everybody knows. But he confronts him and he points the gun at him and he says, I don't remember how I said it. I think it went like, and then he says, remember Teddy? And he says, or maybe it was, I remember Teddy. Do you? Or something?
Yeah, because at that moment the guy's like, wait, man, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, he's afraid because he has the gun. And then he mentions the name Teddy, and then he just like stops.
Yeah,
like,
he says that I don't remember how I said it. All I know is that I mentioned Teddy's name, and he got that look on his face, that look that people get when they get caught.
Yeah.
Is how he says it, and then he does it, and I was just like,
It's such a sad scene. Not the killing scene, but the scene where he talks about his brother.
So
I mean his
sad.
friend, because he's like we were kids, we were innocent. He didn't know that the stuff he was saying was bad. He just said it like, hey, did you know that this is what's happening to me? And it's like funny, right? And it's like it's
like,
the
"That's
innocence with
weird,
these kids.
man."
Yeah. So yeah, obviously all the subject that we're talking about, just to go back into that, it is very sensitive.
really
It is
good.
very
Just start
triggering. It is
reading.
very
Really
mature. So if you guys are sensitive about subjects like that,
But of course, we'll try to phrase our wording to.
yeah, we're not gonna flat out
We're
say
not. Yeah,
the trigger
definitely.
words.
As a form
I
of
do
respect.
want to talk about Punisher since Christian brought up the idea of different storylines. I want to talk about the character's history, and one of the things I do want to get to in this whole thing is you mentioned it right now where you were talking about the Punisher taking out that guy who was like selling those DVDs and everything.
Punisher. Yes.
Yeah, that whole thing. You
That wasn't the scene, but
you
yes.
were. It's because the way you were saying you were trying so hard not to condone what he was doing because someone horrible is gone and you get this sense of like satisfaction from that, but you know it's wrong, so you don't condone it.
Yeah.
And that's what the appeal of these types of characters are. So like I want to get to that probably later, but like I want to preface it with all the history of the Punisher real quick, just so we can get to that idea. Because like Punisher's been around since I think the 1970s, and he first appeared as a villain for the Spider-Man, and
which we have the first appearance, right? Just kidding. Gabriel was like, "What?
Where is it?
Isn't there a cover where he has like a bazooka or something?
yeah,
That's
that's
number one."
Yeah, it's number one.
Yeah, is it at a
Don't talk
mirror or
about
something
that,
like
just
that?
To
a window.
like an apartment window, and I was just like, he's just there, and the guy's like opens it,
I remember seeing that. I remember seeing that
We had
cover, and
one.
I'm
We
like,
had a
this is
green
the
one.
weirdest thing ever.
Yeah, it's pretty
Wait.
awesome. So, yeah, the Punisher's been around since the 70s, and he began as a villain, but as in Spider-Man, and it was over time that people got more acquainted with him as sort of an anti-hero type character, and I think that was very much due to comics from the 1980s, and the 1980s was a big rise of dark superhero stories like The Dark Knight Returns, Batman Year One, Watchmen. You could even throw V for Vendetta in there because it's not particularly superhero, but it is a costume
Detective
like
Comics
Avengers.
27.
That was in the 30s, man.
I know.
And then leads to the 90s with like Spawn. Like
Yes,
it doesn't
yes,
stop
yes.
there.
It doesn't stop in the
Michael J.
80s.
White.
Like the thing is,
When was Watchmen, Matt?
1986.
Yeah, so in the 80s we have like the
Yeah.
Watchmen.
So like that went hand in hand with Punisher from the 70s. They saw this character from way back then, not way back at the time. At that time it was 10 years before. So it's just like, oh, this character fits that mold. You know, we don't have to create a whole new character. We'll take him and run with him. So he gets his own series and everything, and everybody's enjoying that. And the 1990s is when Image becomes its own thing. And Image was a company put together by ex-artists and writers from like Marvel and DC, guys like Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, and what's his name? I think Mark Silvestri
Rob Liefeld.
and Rob Liefeld
Your favorite.
and Eric Larson. And those guys, they were all like kind of fed up with the way the comics were always so like kid friendly and everything. So they wanted
own the rights to the character.
exactly that was the big thing was that they wanted to own their characters.
Yeah.
So what is that?
No.
Oh, what is that? What is that, Isaac? What is that, Isaac?
This is a spawn pack that we have. We created it here at Kaboom. This is one of the incentives. Has a special Todd McFarlane cover. Contains 4 comics, including Spawn #1, King Spawn #1, Gunslinger Spawn #1, and the Scorched #1. 4 comics for only $15.
And you get this free picture of Tom.
Yeah,
What a steal.
$15. Keep in mind, the King Spawns, Scorched, and Gunslinger Spawns are $6 each retail. So that alone.
Yeah, that's a big.
You're basically getting 2 books and then getting 2 free, is what it is, or half off, I guess.
So
Let's continue. I'm sorry.
it's fine.
In a way, if now that you mentioned them, like they're discontent with Marvel and DC. If you follow Robert Lightfield on Whatnot, he has these sessions every Wednesday, and usually he's ranting about the industry
No, that's what he
and
does
comic book
out there.
creators.
Yeah, that's what he does on it. He has a podcast
Rob
too.
Liefeld?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Ramsey's mentioned that he listens to his podcast because he gives a lot of insight of the behind the scenes of the comic industry. But like 90% of it is him complaining about it and I mean he's I mean who are we to say we're not there to experience it. He's experienced it. Stop. He's
Are
gonna
you gonna leave the Spawn there? It looks like we're gonna talk about Spawn.
All right, guys, we're gonna talk about McFarlane. Is what we're gonna talk about. But
the whole thing's
continue.
90s. So yeah, from there the 90s is where they see how popular everything from the 80s was, and they take and learn like all the wrong lessons, and they say, okay, so what can we do to spice up like I don't know, like Spider-Man or something? How about we just make it super hardcore and make the art like crazy and just all this crazy stuff? And they just make everything mature, and everything is just dark now, and it just the only things that work are the characters that are already like ready to get into that, like Punisher and Wolverine and characters of that nature who are kind of already dark and violent, and they fit that motif. But that whole thing is the 1990s, and because of the way comics shifted, the Punisher has always remained popular from his first appearance as a villain to him slowly being embraced as a anti-hero. And basically his original comics, of course, they lean into the superhero tropes of he fights like Hydra and AIM and like, you know, costume villains and stuff. But it was in the 2000s when Garth Ennis, very popular British writer, got his hands on him, and he wrote the very first story for Marvel Knights, and I believe it was called Welcome Back, Frank. and totally redefined the character for like the modern age. And he tied him directly to the Vietnam War, and from there he firmly established how dark, brutal, and violent this character was in the world that he lived in. And it, like I said, it redefined how people see the Punisher. Because before he had a costume like this. Now it was just a shirt that was over like a Kevlar vest. And he wore a trench coat in case he had to like roll out of a fire or something like that. He was very tactical, very realistic, and
His gloves, right?
yeah, he's got the white gloves and
Yeah.
the white boots and everything. So he was very superhero esque back then, but Garth Ennis made him so realistic, and it became just the quintessential like interpretation of the character since then. And we're talking about like 20 years now, but this has basically been how people see the character, and that's where we are now, basically, with the Punisher. That's kind of a rough, like, brief history of him, how he's kind of gotten to where he is now. But I think it's worth pointing out that because of that sort of conflicting origin of, like, the more campy costumes and, like, origins to his super dark modern interpretation is where people have had a difficult time sort of reconciling him now. Because you have people that well, how far can we get into this discussion?
We
Like,
have less than an hour.
no, please, because
You only have an hour, Matt.
this
Okay, so
Okay, so I was gonna say though, how do you guys think Punisher's being treated in the current run? I'm not reading the current run, but like,
It's-
who's reading the current run?
but it's
Are you reading it or no?
I've picked them up, but I haven't.
Oh, you haven't read. Have you guys been reading the current run or no?
I read the first few issues. It is really
I do know like there was a whole symbol change that went on, or the
So-
logo change.
So I guess we can reference it very much. So we can reference it. So there was an issue during his previous run, not this current one, but previously. I guess the writer had a message to put out, because police and I guess what else? What do you call them?
like military
Military men. They reference Punisher as their hero, their symbol, and
It
of
just
course.
seems like a red flag to me.
So I guess you see the Punisher, and you know what he does. He kills people, and so it's a little tricky to see that, why they would symbolize him as that. So there's that argument, and the writer that was writing Punisher was like, well, I don't think they should see him in this way. So he writes this scene, and it became a controversial issue, and it's still out there. And I think it's when the Kingpin's running for mayor or something, and in the issue, the police see Punisher there, and they're like, "Hey, man!" They start taking like selfies with him, and he's just like, "What the heck's going on?" And they're like, "You see, like we're one of you," and they show that they have a little sticker with the Punisher logo, and this upsets him, and he rips the sticker off, rips it, and they're like, "Man, what are you doing?" And then he kind of goes on a little spiel saying like things that I do is not something you should support. Like you want someone to look up to Captain America. That's your guy, because Punisher he doesn't
he's
do
not he's not a role model.
yeah, like he is aware that he does things that are not something people should look up to.
And,
That
and,
people
and you can
should
and you
kinda
and you
like.
can see that like you can see it that definitely here you can see it in Batman. The police and the vigilantes are always at odds, right?
Yeah,
They are like a separate side of the spectrum, right? The other one believes that the other person is wrong, right? So I'm guessing the Punisher also felt the same way. He was like, why like we're opposites, or the writer was trying to mention that,
Yeah,
right?
so
Like
the writer, well, do you remember which writer it was?
I'm not sure.
He was just trying to send a message basically, like, and then of course there was the argument where the police force and stuff are like, no, like the Punisher is, they have their reasons, and then there's a lot of arguing, and we're not gonna get so much into it. We're just here to give you guys the information of
It's-
what is out there. People use the Punisher as the symbol, and then there's other people that say like that doesn't make sense.
so is that's why they're changing the symbol now?
So
The comic
that
run?
was what people were thinking. And we don't know for sure because they never flat out said, like Marvel never said we're changing the symbol. So,
Yeah, they would never like
they never said
flat
that.
out say
They just
it.
so happened to change it, and a lot of people most people that are upset about it are people that haven't read the comic. But I'm sure there's people that read the comic and are upset about it still.
And they're
But
probably
there's a
not
lot
aware
of
of the politics behind it,
yeah,
right? They just like the character.
yeah. Like I mean, there's been a lot of groups that I'm in on Facebook, comic groups, and it's always a conversation especially when the book first came out. People were like, "What do you think of the Punisher symbol? What do you think of the Punisher symbol?" And I noticed that all the comments, and it was always a huge debate. The people that were against it were people that hadn't read the issue,
Mhm.
and the people that were for it, there was people that were open about it, like, "Oh, I'm open. I haven't read it, but I'm open to it. Like, I'm sure there's a reason." And then most people that were into it were the people that read it, and it made more sense. Like, it makes because once you read it, it makes sense as to why the symbol changes. um what's it called? Because he starts, working for the Hand, and you start wondering like, why would the Punisher work for the Hand? The Punisher, he works alone. Sometimes like Nick Fury will use him for something, but it's because he's gaining something in the end. What does the Hand have to offer to the Punisher? And when you read it, that's where it becomes interesting. Spoiler alert: it's his family.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, the Hand has always had, since their like beginning, the means to resurrect people from the dead. That's how they wanted to resurrect Elektra when Bullseye killed her, and that was a big story where Daredevil had to try and stop them from doing that. And they recently did that with Frank Castle's wife. They resurrected her to convince him to lead their group.
And it's a
And
pretty. I mean,
just the
when
way,
you're in his. Hello, Mario. Thank you for joining. So when you read it, Mario's one of our pool members. Um, you, I mean, it's surprising that it has never been written before. Like, because that he does what he does because he doesn't have nothing to lose. Like, he doesn't have his
yeah,
family anymore. Like, what does he have to lose? Like, he doesn't care if he dies. He doesn't care. Like, he's at that point where he's like, if he dies, he dies. Um, so the fact that they're like, oh well, here's your wife again. This is who you have to lose. You want to lose her twice? Then you're gonna work for us. And of course, he's just like, you know what? That's a pretty sweet deal. And he goes for it, and that's why it makes it very interesting. And then of course, then the Hand isn't gonna be like, all right, one condition, you get to keep your logo. Like, no, no, they're gonna change whatever they want, and he's gonna represent the Hand in whatever way he can, not only with swords and stuff like that, but what's it? I mean, are people not upset that he's not using guns anymore either? Because he's not. I mean, he is,
he
but
uses everything.
now he's doing more of like ninja style things, and then it's because that's what the Hand has to offer. I mean, the Hand has everything. They have all the whatever, but so that's why people are like confused as to why they changed the logo, and then maybe Marvel did it for whatever political reason, but they haven't
Does it look
changed
like it's
it
gonna
to the.
revert by the end of the series,
I
or
feel
no?
like
Well,
yeah.
especially considering where it's gone.
I'm guessing they're getting backlash, right, because of the
I don't think
symbol
that's
changes.
It's not they're
why.
getting backlash so much as like, because I'm gonna be honest, the people that are like really really upset over that are probably a minority. The comic is getting very 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 positive buzz. It's doing really really well.
It
Every time we
sells
get it,
out.
almost
It
sells
sells
out
out.
every
It's
week. We get it.
and I want to say majority of it is because Punisher in general is a very popular character. Um, but like it's to the point where like I don't know what our most pulled Marvel title is. Like maybe it's between ASM and Ghost Rider. Oh, Venom. Venom definitely is probably the more popular.
Yeah,
And then it ties in between ASM, Ghost Rider, and then Punisher is also up there. So like
yeah. He's only on issue 5 right now. Like he had been on hiatus for a while, so it's
it was
pretty
after that
impressive.
that run, or was it? It was right after that run
I
because
think it
they
was
did
somewhere
the
in
they
there.
did the War Machine run, and then they did the when he becomes War Machine or he wears the War Machine suit, and it's kind of funny.
Has a logo on the outside.
Yeah, because I think Nick Fury wants him to like retrieve it or something. Like that's his mission to like go through all the military. I don't know who's holding the machinery or whatever. So the Punisher gets through, and they kind of like barricade him, and he's like trapped, and he just sees the War Machine suit, and he's just like, and there's a little panel where he just like smirks, and he's just like, hmm. And then and they're like, oh my god, they're like, what is that? And then he comes out wearing it, and he's just like killing everyone, and it's funny because like it's he's like a kid in a candy store. Like
Yeah,
he sees all these things, and I thought that was an interesting run. And then he has to give it back. He has to give it back, and he styles it, however he wants. And then in the end, Nick Fury is like, "You're not keeping that. Like, give it back to us." And then it's a funny thing. Tristan says there was a glimpse in Daredevil #1 where we're gonna see Daredevil fight Ninja Punisher. Yeah, they keep referencing that.
Ninja Punisher.
It's
I mean,
because
it's
Punisher, since he belongs to the
The
hand
hand.
now, like the
So it's just
they're
a
saying
nickname they're
that
giving it.
he's using like swords and stuff.
Gotcha.
Ninja
Gotcha.
Star.
I haven't read it.
You should read
it is
Hey,
100%.
I'm already reading 10 different like stories, or like 10 titles in my pool.
But what's it called? So with you said Punisher's your favorite then, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Sure. Of these three.
Any favorite storyline that you can remember? Since they were talking about
Don't
storylines.
put me on the spot, Gabriel.
Okay.
Don't put me on the spot.
Well, I mean, like,
Did you
what?
get to say your?
Yeah, it was just Gabriel that we knew.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
So out of the three, definitely my favorite is still Rorschach. Sadly, this is more.
Why is it sad?
No, I was gonna say biased because I'm really not that familiar with the Punisher, to be honest. Right, I'm not really familiar with the Punisher, other than I said the John Travolta movie that I really enjoyed. I didn't watch any of the Netflix shows because I didn't feel like they were gonna tie in with the MCU. So now I have a lot of things to catch up with.
I
Apparently,
recommend all of Daredevil and the first season.
I've only seen all of Daredevil and like the first 3 episodes of Punisher.
okay.
I've not seen anything
Perfect.
else. I haven't seen Defenders, which I think is important, but I never saw it.
I heard Iron Fist is bad.
Oh yeah, and I heard Luke Cage isn't bad either. I heard Luke Cage is good too.
Oh well. Anyway,
Anyway,
but yeah, Rorschach is my favorite just because out of these two, even though they both have mental issues, I feel like Rorschach has a better grasp on what happened to him, and he uses it more in his favor. He
I can
tries
see
to
that.
control it as best as possible, right? Whatever happened to him. Now I know the Punisher has nothing of that. The Punisher is like in full control, right? But like when you're talking about people that have, but as you said, no traumas, not at all. It's just something traumatic that happened, right? But like he was already
Yeah, like
full
he was
adult.
basically
He
like
was able to cope with it the way he could. These were like kids when like they had traumatized, right? Uh, Rorschach just grabs it as best as he can, and thinks I'm gonna exploit this to the maximum, and that's what I like. And also Rorschach, I think, is like the main key behind the reason I like Watchmen.
you admire
Without Rorschach, I don't think I would enjoy Watchmen at all. Because even when I see the movie, if I'm in a rush or I just want to turn my mind down, I just rush to all the scenes where Rorschach comes in.
that guy's
Yeah.
performance is definitely like his elder.
So yeah.
If we're talking about costumes, I think Watchmen has, or Rorschach has like my favorite
Of
one.
course.
Yes,
Like, I
definitely.
mean, obviously this guy doesn't have a costume, right?
Yes, he does.
He does.
Yeah, it actually like there.
Is it?
It's a hoodie and a ski mask.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's simple.
I
Like,
actually cosplayed that.
no.
Oh, really?
No one knew who I was. So,
Should
very much in with the book. No one knew.
You just look like some creepy guy. Then.
Yeah, that's what people thought. They were
Yeah.
like,
But like costume wise, I think Rorschach takes it, man.
It
It's
is
so awesome.
Yeah,
So
yeah. He's and he has his reasons behind it. What's it called? I was gonna ask you something, Gabriel. What was I gonna ask? I don't remember.
What's 2 + 2?
An English teacher. Israel, don't put me on
you
the
never
spot.
read the Tom King Rorschach run?
No, I haven't. I have not.
Neither have I.
Okay, no, I haven't read. I haven't read anything other
Is it
than
good? You don't like
the Watchmen.
why
Didn't you get a
me as
Rorschach?
book?
Rorschach signed?
Yeah, we have it there.
Yeah.
We have
Just
it
FYI.
there. I haven't posted about it
Oh,
yet.
sorry.
We posted this week. We got a bunch of signed books from Dallas Fan Expo that we have now. Tom King and
Do they have any?
JB.
Matt's favorite.
Do the audience have any questions? How many people are watching us?
Yeah, I did. We got 4 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm one of them though. So
No.
Never counts the one.
are you sure?
Invite people. If we get 10 people, Isaac will take his mask off. Spread the
No,
word.
It's not how this works.
If we get 10 views at least, 10 people, Isaac will take his mask off live.
Why do you have a crib, Israel, on your
I don't know. You drew a crib for me.
Because your wife's pregnant.
I don't have a wife.
Because it's his last week.
No, it's not.
Does anyone have any questions for any of us or for all of us?
Or
Feel
any.
free to comment away. Or if you have anything to say, like literally anything, any opinions, who's y'all's favorite? Who do you prefer? If you've read any of these 3 or 2 of them or one of them, what do you prefer? What are your favorite storylines? What are your what do you enjoy about the characters? That's it. But so going back on the Punisher, yeah, he's referenced. Oh, okay, we got Tristan.
Awesome.
What do you think of Tom King's Rorschach? Tristan, we just said none of us have read it.
None of us have read it.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
Matt hates Tom King to
Yeah,
begin
but we're not
with,
going to talk
right?
about Tom King. We have to talk about Rorschach.
I just think
No,
the
he's
series
listening.
is misplaced.
All right, Tristan. You have any other questions, Tristan, or anyone else?
So I'm guessing Tristan has read it. Did he like it? Do you think
Tristan,
he?
have you read Tom King's Rorschach series? Um, what's it called? Yeah, so kind of going back on the Punisher, um, I noticed Mario says I've only watched the Watchmen. With Mario gets nothing but DC in his pool. I thought you've read Watchmen.
Get Doomsday Clock.
Doomsday Clock. Don't even start with Watchmen. Start with Doomsday Clock.
What you want to do is read. What was it?
Before
Doomsday Clock,
Watchmen.
and then before Watchmen,
And then
watch the movie
Watchmen.
backwards.
Alright, so during the whole like heroes becoming anti-heroes, they had also did Venom as one of them too.
That's a perfect.
Oh, sure.
But we can't like it's we have multiple reasons why we didn't choose Venom. One of them is because well Punisher seems to be the more popular one, but Venom's also very popular. But what's crazy is like when they first made him an anti-hero, it wasn't like his life depended on it. He didn't have a trouble. I mean, the only thing that was troubling about his life was that Peter Parker ruined his life, and that was it.
He ruined his career. The guy
Yeah.
should have just moved on.
Yeah, and like that was it. And of course, he didn't take it lightly, and that's the only thing. And that's when the symbiote kind of took over and kind of enhanced his anger more than he already was. And they were like, "Well, I hate Spider-Man." He's like, "Well, I hate Spider-Man too." And they're like, "All right, well, let's kill him." And then that was it. That was what made him a villain. And then the anti-hero thing was, I guess, Eddie Brock's like,
Human
conscience.
side.
Yeah, his human side saying like, because I think technically the symbiote needs to eat a brain, and they're like, okay, well, we're gonna eat, someone, we're gonna kill someone. It's got to be bad people, kind of like in the movie, I guess too.
Yeah.
They have that conversation, Tom Hardy and the symbiote.
I love those.
And it also becomes a thing where like there's other symbiotes. This lab or whatever it's called ends up creating other symbiotes from Venom and Carnage's offsprings and all that, and they realize that that's more troubling than anything. So they're like, all right, well, we got.
That's such a well. We can talk about this. It's such a redeeming quality, and I think the only way this works is the audience has to know that the people that are dying are bad.
Yeah,
right.
And another thing is like I think he only in the Spider-Man run before they did Lethal Protector, he had only one small like scene, I guess, where he became an anti-hero, and it's when Carnage was introduced, and it's when Spider-Man. Because if you guys aren't familiar, Spider-Man trapped Venom in an island and made Venom believe that Spider-Man was dead. So Venom and Eddie Brock were like on vacation, and then when Carnage comes out, he goes to Venom and he's like, "Hey, like Carnage is here. He's another symbiote just like you, but he's more crazy." And they're like, "We need to team up to defeat him. I can't do it
I
alone."
thought you were dead.
Yeah, and Venom's like, "All right," and then he basically says like, "All right, well, we'll deal with our thing later." He's like, "Let's go do this." So they go and they team up, and what's it called? And it's such a random thing. Like I think like Eddie Brock is like, "All right, well, this seems to be worse than anything. I'm gonna help him fight Carnage." And I love how the covers, especially on the second and the third issue, where Venom and Carnage are on the cover, they make it seem like Carnage and Venom are teaming up against Spider-Man, but in reality, like it's like they have both of them coming at him, and there is instances where they team up, like in the cartoons and stuff, they team up, but in that small part, he becomes an anti-hero because he's helping Spider-Man for the greater good. And then at that point, he's like, "All right, leave me alone. I'm back to being myself." And then he comes out as a villain, blah blah blah, fights Wolverine, fights other people, and then I don't know. I guess it was the popularity with the anti-hero thing that they decided to make him a lethal protector. Lethal protector.
I think one of the big things that leads people to really dig these characters is I don't know what it is. They just end up always looking really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And like
without a doubt, bro.
like you're saying about Rorschach.
Yeah.
He looks super cool. He's like the prototype gumshoe detective, trench coat, fedora, but he's got that cool mask and like the scarf and everything. He just looks really cool.
I think half of it is the costume.
Yeah, like same thing with the Punisher, the white skull against all the black, the trench coat and everything. And then Venom, it's very similar, just this like black suit.
Giant spider.
I just want to say the people that like Vigilantes, or at least maybe I'm talking about for myself, is people that all their lives have followed the rules. right? So it's like, oh, these are rule breakers,
But
and
then
they're
again,
getting away with it,
I
right?
feel like there's also people that are like, yeah, like someone that's just like me and breaks the rules.
And you're like, hey, somebody report him.
Murderer.
But what's it called? But I don't know.
Mario right there. He says anti-heroes are the best characters for me, both in Marvel and DC.
Yeah, I mean, there's also Red Hood. Red Hood is
Yeah,
also,
Red Hood.
but more of his is because he grew up doing what was good, with Batman by his side or him by Batman's side, and then when it came to like the worst thing possible, where they kill him, and that's where his perspective changes because the Joker kills him, and then they bring him back to life. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, go finish up.
Gabriel.
Okay, I was gonna say just before I lost this thought. Also, I think the difference between vigilante and superhero. Superhero, we think saving the world, saving everybody. We think vigilante, saving us common people,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Looking after us.
realistic. I think what like they're more like grounded, I guess, to like, all right, like you think you could save the world, and he's like, how about this one person, like save this person, and it's more of like superheroes are like, oh, thou shalt not kill because we're not the judge nor the executioner, and they're like, yeah, but if you don't do it, they're gonna do it again. How many times is Joker gonna break out before he kills another person? Like, and that's where Red Hood comes from, and that's his whole argument. Like, this guy killed me, and you did nothing about it, and he's gonna do it again. He's gonna find someone else to kill, and you're still not gonna do anything.
Can I just say like, how much that bugs me? How people put that burden on Batman.
Yeah.
It's like the one guy who's like, I'm not gonna kill anybody. And it's like maybe he should be the one that kills the Joker. And it's like, well, you know how many policemen have pointed guns at him, and he's like, oh, he's got something. It's like, oh, nobody shoot. It's like, well,
Let Batman take care of
Batman
it.
take care of it. How many other
Are
superheroes?
any of you guys reading Flashpoint Beyond
No.
the current? So I'm reading it. Oh,
I want
go
to,
for
but
it.
I can't find number 0 anywhere.
Okay.
I have, I think everything.
It's actually in this Spawn pack.
No, it's
There.
not.
Buy it.
Yeah, but I'm trying to. But
Have you checked the other unmentionable comic book stores in the area for it?
no.
We have it,
Okay.
Israel. We have it.
Oh, you get
We have
that?
it.
The 0. The
Yes.
first-
It's right under my seat.
Stop lying to
Mario
me.
says, love Red Hood, and Under the Red Hood storyline is one of my favorites.
I haven't read any of
So
them.
what were you referencing in
Oh
Flash?
yeah, so I was gonna say in Flashpoint Beyond, what happens there is that we see that world, that alternate reality, where it's Thomas Wayne the one that's Batman,
Yeah.
and the main difference is that Thomas Wayne actually kills the
He's a
villains,
killer, yeah.
right? So through this storyline is addressing the issue: what happens in the world where Batman actually kills people, and the writers there are contesting. It actually makes things worse. Like it makes, because seeing that, it makes the people more angry, more furious. It actually makes the people more violent, because here we have a Batman that he's like, I'm gonna take out the threat entirely and it's gonna be done. No, it turns out that when you do that, when you become that shining example that we're gonna be killing people, right, it actually makes people worse, and it brings out the worst in them. It's actually that notion of, you know what, I'm not gonna kill, I'm gonna be that symbol that people look up to, that makes the people as a whole better.
That's very much what the Batman, the latest Batman movie, was about.
Yes.
When you get to the end, he's like realized when he finally stops all those crazy Riddler goons, and then that one when they take off his mask, he's like, "Who are you supposed to be?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm Vengeance." And he realizes that he unintentionally helped inspire this crazy group of radicals and the Riddler himself by doing what he does, which is by being just a terror to what's it called, to criminals. And he realizes that he has to be more than that. He has to be a symbol of hope to people, because like at the very beginning of the movie, when he stops that man from being like mugged by all of those guys with the painted faces,
Oh, yeah.
that guy is also terrified of Batman. He's there on the ground. He's like, please don't hurt me. And he's supposed to be there to feel safe. But Batman says nothing and does
Saving you.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't do anything
Yeah.
to project to this guy that, like, oh no, I'm a good guy.
And now if it was Wesley Snipes and Blade,
Oh.
they'll be like, man, I'm helping you. Like it's because we were talking about Blade earlier, and there's like so many scenes where Wesley Snipes has like so many great lines, and like yeah, where the cops shoot him.
But like in
And then-
Batman, and because of that, right? Batman, there's always a sense of hope that like people are better, that things are getting better. With these two, not at all. Complete hopelessness. Like when he decides to go full, like I'm gonna kill people. Like he goes on these rants throughout the comic, where he's just describing how vile and evil the world is and it's unredeemable. Very similar to Rorschach. It's like the world is not redeemable. Like if you're bad, you're always gonna be bad at the core. On the other hand, Batman is always looking to redeem the people he's capturing.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's always looking like for that. Is like I'm gonna reform you. You're gonna become better. Right? Like things are gonna be good.
I think people would stop giving Batman like crap if they finally rehabilitated one of the villains.
Just because Batman is the one that gets closest to them, and they're like, you're literally like right there. You can just like do it. And I feel like cops aren't as close as them. Like I feel like cops in Gotham are like stormtroopers. Like they don't shoot him.
When Batman's like, I beat him up, he's right there. A cop could have just been like, ha, no more problem.
But then again, what if the cops are crooked? Like what if they're
under his payroll?
Yeah, under their payroll. I mean, Gotham is a crooked city.
Yeah, like I've always wondered that. Why is it that like once they caught him, there has to be a cop there that like has lost a family member to someone, and then they're just like boom.
But it's also like that in Daredevil too. Like Kingpin has every person on his payroll. Um, but yeah, Red Hood, Venom. There's a lot of anti-heroes. Maybe Ghost Rider, because he just kind of looks at bad people and gives them the little pendant stare, and basically kills them with their own whatever. And he becomes. But then again, he's also like from hell, so it's like, or a spawn, I guess, if you will. And his job is to be the executioner. Yeah, basically. So
yeah, well, I was mentioning to either you or Matt, I don't remember, in the Thanos run by Donny Cates, Cosmic Ghost Rider turns out to be the Punisher.
Mhm.
And it's like what a perfect team up, right? It's like forget about War Machine. This is like Power to Kill on steroids, right?
yeah, I think that was Donny Cates having fun. Like definitely, I was showing it to Matt because he's against it. No, I'm
I'm
kidding.
not against it. When he showed it to me, it's like, this is pretty funny.
Yeah, because it's like
kind of tongue.
he's just like having fun. Like that's all it was. Like it was yeah, that's all it was.
The concept of Frank Castle being Ghost Rider almost seems like a 3 in the morning sleep deprived thought.
It probably is. Like
what if
like the most blood
became Ghost Rider?
And it's like
if he became.
And he's like, not only
but
that, but we make them cosmic.
Yeah, not Ghost Rider for the world, the Earth,
the
but for
story
every.
is that Thanos kills him, and Mephisto wants Frank Castle to be his next spirit of vengeance. So he's like, okay, he becomes Ghost Rider, and then Galactus comes, and he's like, I need to go kill Thanos, and he's like, he sees that Ghost Rider is the only one alive, I guess, which is Frank Castle, and he's like, I'm gonna need your help, and he's just like no, and then he like beams him, and he becomes like cosmic, and he's like, all right, you work for me now, and he's just like, okay, so he's like in a spaceship motorcycle, and they fly
So
to Thanos.
Mephisto's just like in a corner somewhere.
I guess he's like, oh, he's still killing, yeah, because that's what he wants, and then they go and then I guess spoiler alert for the run, Thanos ends up killing Galactus somehow, and he's gonna kill Ghost Rider, and Ghost Rider's like, hey man, like you can't kill me, so I'll just help you out. So then Ghost Rider then helps out.
I think that's also an appeal, right? Because sorry, now you mentioned like Thanos killing Galactus. These guys don't have superpowers, right? Same thing with Batman, right? These are just your average guys. They get hurt. We see Dylan getting hurt a lot throughout the comic book. He he ends up in the hospital several times, right? He ends up just we see the recovery process that he goes through, right? And like with these all powerful beings, right? It's like it's hard to like connect with. I really love I think the Marvel movies really downplay Thanos just because you mentioned him killing Galactus. If you read the recent Ron Lim run, which one was it? It just finished. It was with the Silver Surfer and
Silver Surfer Rebirth.
That one, yeah. There's a scene where like they use a reality gem to create 4 Silver Surfers, and they all attack Thanos at once, and Thanos just like obliterates 4 Silver Surfers at once. It's like just like wow.
I mean, there's a lot of scenes. Well, in that Thanos wins one, like he takes over the whole entire like. I mean, he wins, but he like it's so brutal. Like it's basically the run where he splits like Iron Man in half, and he like kills everyone, and obviously for the purpose of pleasing death, and that's where they take that in there. Um, Mario says there was only one volume on Kill or Be Killed. There is four,
They're 4 volumes,
volumes, so I think it's like 20 issues, right?
25, 24.
and they're all on sale here.
Yeah,
We
we
have
all
all
have
four
them.
volumes.
We have all of them.
$9.99 each.
No, they're not.
They're $9.99. I checked the price.
That one is.
Oh, this one's
The second
$9.99.
one, I think it's like 14.99.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thought they were all $10.
some are very thick. This is actually
Don't quote
small.
me.
some are very thick.
What's it called?
Employee of the month here.
For his last week, we'll give it to him. But 2 views right now. We lost views. Where's everyone?
I think we just lost our train of thought.
We
Like
got nothing else to
One
talk
thing
about.
Punisher
we
good.
know it's left. I think one of the things we should talk about, and we mentioned, like I mentioned it before, what I want to build up to is what is the appeal for these characters? Why are they so popular? Because like a lot of people read Watchmen, and a lot of people walk away with Rorschach being their favorite character.
Yeah.
A lot of people, even if they don't read comics, they think the Punisher's cool.
The first appearance of Punisher was a super expensive key.
Yeah,
And it's like,
he's not even like super old. He's from the
Yeah.
70s.
and they haven't done a lot with him. Like, it's crazy that I can afford, I mean, I can't afford either one, but like if I were to choose one, I'd be better off buying a Daredevil #1 low grade than a Punisher, mid grade. And like Daredevil #1 is obviously First Appearance of Daredevil is more iconic, in my opinion, than the First Appearance of Punisher. But it's so crazy that the value of them, as far as money, like the Punisher is more sought after.
Yeah.
Well, it's just crazy because I've been looking at prices. That's all I know.
If we got to 3 by just talking about what is the appeal.
Daredevil. No, but
and I think we've been touching that either way, right, throughout the stream.
Yeah,
Is
okay.
like they're more relatable.
They're human, you mentioned.
They're human, right? And I said right, like there's a rule breaker, something that some of us is like, I would never do that. That's crazy. I have thought about it, but I would never do it, right? Like, but they're willing to cross that line of like, you know what? I'm gonna take justice into my own hands. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that.
yeah, and it's cool because I feel like the next podcast we should just talk about Daredevil. But because in the
I
Daredevil,
would love that.
because
You
in
know,
the
Forcing
because in the Daredevil TV series, I don't know if you guys have. Oh, you haven't seen it,
I
right?
haven't seen it.
There's a
We have to watch it now.
there's a there's a really
A
important
week.
scene where the Punisher ties Daredevil up to like a little chimney, and they force a conversation
I've seen
between
that.
them because the Daredevil's aware of him killing all these people, and Daredevil's against killing people, and they have this whole argument where basically the Punisher or Daredevil's criticizing him for killing people, and Punisher's criticizing him for not killing people, and it just becomes this whole like it's a really great scene and Daredevil can't do anything because he's tied up with chains. So and Punisher's there with like a gun on him. So,
Daredevil's just some blind.
but like if you think about it, the Punisher could have killed Daredevil right there if he wanted to, but he chose not to
he
because
chose not to because
He
he
sees.
has no reason to.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's not a bad guy.
he does good.
yeah, and in that moment, the only reason he tied him was because they were fighting,
Mm.
and even though he was stopping Punisher from doing what he was trying to do, he could have been like, "You're in my way. I'm killing anyone who gets in my way," and he didn't do that. And there's also another scene before that where he's trying to kill this gang guy, and they have him in a hospital. And Karen Page, who is one of the main characters, is one of she works in the law firm with Matt and Foggy, and she's an important character, and she's there. And basically, the Punisher takes over the hospital, and he has a big shotgun, and he's shooting everything, and he's trying to find him. And after all that happens, he's trying to kill the guy. Karen talks to the Punisher, and he's like, "Oh, you almost killed me. Like you could have killed me." And he's like, "Trust me." He's like, "If I wanted to, I would have."
Yeah.
And it's like he's not trying to kill anyone that gets in his way. He's just
Yeah,
trying to kill that
it's
one
not
person.
reckless, right? I even like when in issue number 2 or 3, volume number 2 or 3, spoiler right on this one, he's in a psychiatric ward, right? He's locked up. He's trying to deal with his illness, and there's a copycat, and he's reading the news articles on him, and he's like, "What is this guy doing? He's just killing low-level drug dealers, right? These have been," and he says, "These people are doing this for reasons outside their control. These are the wrong people to go after, right? Like, there's even that criteria of like, who are we going after, right? It's not just senseless murder. Other than Rorschach, Rorschach will go for anyone.
Yeah.
That's why
no matter.
I like Dylan.
Huh?
Of everybody, like Punisher, he goes for. He's mostly the enemy of the mob, is what they kind of frame him as in the comics. He's always going after like organized crime. and he's always just destroying everything. But Dylan, um, he has a heart.
Yeah,
It
he
sounds
does.
funny. He sees like drug dealers and people like of that nature are symptoms of a larger problem. And so he tries to go for the head of the snake instead of like gunning the entire body of the snake until he gets to the head. Because the Punisher does that. He goes through everything and wipes it all clean. And Dylan sees that some of these people are people who have no choice, or people that have bad situations that they can't help themselves, and they have to do these things like what's it called, prostitutes and drug dealers and people of that nature are just living hard lives a lot of the time, and he takes that into consideration. So, in fact, one of his best friends is a drug dealer. Remember?
Yeah. Yeah, this is.
You need to read it,
Seems like
Israel.
it seems like a slippery slope. Like the one day one of the customers like ends up dying of that drug dealer.
It's like,
Like,
ah,
alright,
man.
sorry,
Yeah.
I gotta do this.
Kind of like with the Punisher at the pawn shop, right? It's
Yeah.
like, hey, just give it. Okay.
Like, oh man, but you guys gotta watch that show. But I think the next podcast should be about Daredevil, and maybe that
We
would.
did do that one.
I know we did it because when I had
The
finished
show.
watching the show,
The movie.
and I feel like we should read the books.
Just the Ben Affleck.
Yeah, Ben Affleck and what's his who played Bullseye?
Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
You know, he was pretty great.
He's like bullseye, like he does that. Have you seen the movie?
Yes, I have. I have
Okay.
seen the Ben Affleck.
I just love
Daredevil.
like the whole what is it, the playground scene?
Oh,
That was pretty cool.
that was the part when
Is he not even trying to hide the fact that he's blind?
How about we talk about the cringiest moments in early superhero movies?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a long list.
But yeah, no, the Daredevil TV series, super good. But in that conversation, the Punisher or Daredevil tells the Punisher like basically what I was saying, that you don't get to be the judge and the executioner, and then Punisher calls Daredevil Red, and he's like, you know what, Red? He's like you. What does he say? You
One bad day from being
yeah, you put them down, or I put them down and they stay down. He's like, you put them down, they come back and they do it again. And Daredevil's belief is like, no, like what if there's like a little light inside them that makes them, like there's a little good in them. And then he's like, and you go and you just wipe that out, like the little good of them that can still change and become a good person, like you get rid of all that opportunity from them. And it's just this whole argument, and I'm just curious, like, what do you guys think of that? Like, what do you think of people, vigilantes, being the judge and the executioner compared to just.
I think that's where the whole thing we're talking about with the appeal comes from, because we sort of envy these characters that can look at life in those simple terms, who can operate and what's it called, achieve what they believe is like their mission, and do it like without compromise, and just do it.
Because if you
Well,
think
just
about
sort
it,
of
all the
think about it.
superheroes that are out there, if they wanted to, they can kill anyone. Like,
Yeah.
and they choose not to. Like Spider-Man, there was that what if Spider-Man one, the Shadow something, or it's like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
what if he kept the symbiote suit or something,
Yeah, and it
and
don't
basically
break.
he's killing the whole Sinister Six, and
It's kind of funny that they're like, "Oh no!"
yeah, and it's so brutal, and it's such a weird what if. It's five issues.
It's weird to think, right? Like the ones with real power, if they were to cross that line, they turn into like these unstoppable villains. But these guys, they're like always crossing the line. They somehow never get to that level.
Yeah, because I think it's because they're limited by the fact that they're just like everyone else.
They're just human.
And not to reference the Daredevil show again, but also Israel.
In the Daredevil show.
Israel also mentioned the line where he tells Daredevil that you're just one bad day away from me.
Yeah.
And then he tempts Daredevil by tying a gun to his hand, and
Yeah.
basically a bunch of men are coming after Daredevil, and he leaves them, and he has no other choice but to use the gun because it's duct taped to his hand, but he doesn't use it. Like he has, and everyone's coming after him, and he ends up improvising.
Yeah.
And there's a really cool scene where he like clocks it or something. And I don't get that scene, but we'll talk about that in the Daredevil scene because he like actually clocks it, and there's nothing in it, and then he just smiles. It's supposed to look like the cover, right? That one cover where he has the gun.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you guys need to watch it.
Okay.
I do. I think I saw a clip on YouTube where it's Daredevil. He saves Frank at some point or whatever. Like again, I'm watching this clip out of context, and Frank is all beaten up. He's all bloody,
yeah.
and the Daredevil's trying to save him. And Frank, even though he's all bloody, he's still
He
trying to
tries to kill people,
hit the
and then
Batman.
Daredevil just like gets it out of the way.
Yeah, he just like moves
Like
Frank out of
he
the
throws like a
way.
blade at someone, and then Daredevil like throws something to like block it,
Yeah, this is so
and then I
all
think
while escaping.
yeah, and then I think
God,
well,
it's so
it's such a good scene. Like
Yeah.
it's so
that
choreographed.
show does really well. Show just how hard it is to be
Yeah,
the Devil.
they're basically
So hard. That's what I mean. It's like people love the Punisher because he makes things seem easy. Like, man, why can't I just like see the world like that? That's simple. Well, Daredevil's
Because
like juggling all this stuff. I gotta protect Frank Castle because I know he's not all bad. But I gotta stop him from killing these guys because I know he's not all bad. I don't know they want to kill me, but I can't kill them. It's like Jesus.
would you say
I just
that?
wanted it all
Would
to
you
be easy.
say that the argument between Punisher and Daredevil, where Punisher criticizes Daredevil for not killing the villains, whereas he does, is the same as Red Hood and Batman, where they argue and
I think Red
and
Hood.
how you say that Batman, like they put it all on his plate, but they also put it all on Daredevil's plate. Like, he also has the option to kill these, drug dealers and bad people. What is it, trafficking and all that stuff. Um,
I think the day that Daredevil kills somebody, he hangs up the hood.
yeah,
kind of like Batman
He's no
and
longer
Batman
yeah,
Beyond.
yeah.
because being who Daredevil is, or his character, I guess you could say, is centered around the fact that he doesn't kill, but he has, I guess, a skill set to do so. So the moments, even if it's like a slip up, I assume it would like break him, and there's no taking back a life, obviously.
That's what happened
Yeah.
in the more recent run,
Mhm.
where,
They
long
went to
story
jail.
short, he suffered from a hit and run where he was crossing the street and got slammed into by like a trash truck, and his whole body was just like smashed.
Mhm.
So he was in the hospital for a long time, and so when he finally recovered to the point that he could like walk around and stuff, he hit the streets prematurely. So he wasn't, his peak physical form or anything.
Who are we talking about? Sorry,
Daredevil.
Daredevil.
And at that point, he stopped these guys from robbing a convenience store or a drugstore, and he accidentally killed one of them in the fight. Like he hit the guy, and the guy fell back, and he hit his head against the brick wall, and he suffered like a brain injury. They took him to the hospital, and he died in the hospital. And Daredevil, when he heard about it, he was doing something else, and he's like, "That's the guy I put in like the hospital and everything," and it wrecks him. And
Oh, the same thing as here because we were talking about the drug dealer.
yeah,
Really sad scene where like he accidentally shoots his friend, drops him off at the hospital, and
oh
it's
yeah,
like take care of him, and he takes off, and then sees in the news vigilante murders
yeah, they
someone and
blame
drops him
him.
off. And they're like, "Oh, what a sick joke!" Drops him off in front of a hospital, dead already.
You do so much good, and then the one time you slip up on accident, it's like the whole town.
I mean, is he doing good?
But yeah,
Well,
but that's
That's the question.
but that's the thing. That's why they can't skip. The moment they skip that line, everything they did up to that point is rendered mute, right?
Yeah,
You lost complete, and that's how life is, right? It's like we can do so many good
you can't
things.
kill people.
We can do so many good things, but the moment you do something wrong, even if by accident, people will lose credibility in you, right? They'll
Yeah.
stop trusting you,
Even if it's an accident.
even if it's an accident, right? So for them, it's just they so for a lot of people that see things black and white, it's just a lot easier to navigate life, right? It's like
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just gonna screw it. I'm just gonna cross the line.
It's just so
It's
many.
just
There's so
a
many
lot
instances.
easier.
Like even in Spider-Man: No Way Home,
Oh
at
yeah,
the
yeah.
end when he wants to kill Green Goblin, because I mean, spoiler alert, I guess the Green Goblin kills Aunt May,
Yeah.
and yeah, he
Toby
has all
and,
this rage, and
Toby
then
and what's the other
Toby
guy?
comes in.
Andrew Garfield. They all
Toby comes in
they
clutch.
pull him back from that.
Yeah, and it's I mean honestly I love him, but we should talk about the movie in the next one. No, we already did.
That
But
year-old
yeah,
movie at
like
this
he
point.
has the power to kill the Green Goblin. The Green Goblin's like trying to push him to that level for some
Yeah, he
reason,
wants to.
for some hidden agenda, I guess. He doesn't even know that version of Spider-Man that well. He's just genuinely evil, I guess. He's like, I can make all the Spider-Mans crazy or something. But it's so funny. No, but yeah, that's basically it. All right, well, you guys talk. You guys say something. Me and Matt are done talking. We're staying quiet for the remaining of these 15 minutes.
Talking. What are you talking about?
You guys converse with each
We
other.
haven't been quiet. You guys
Oh.
are part of this. Too.
I've asked more questions than you, Isaac.
Yeah, ask them to yourself. Ask
Do you
me.
like vigilantes?
Yeah. I love Vigilantes. There you go. I talked. What's left to talk about, guys? What's left? What's left? How are we on views? How are we on time?
We should have
We're at
done
15 minutes.
We should have done 4 because 3 just seems kind of.
I mean, what would have been the first? What's another?
Batman.
I mean, there's
Oh,
a lot-
no, that's not true. That's not true.
Boston.
Hey, he
Yeah.
planned this. He planned. Look, just wait, Gabriel.
Where is it?
What are you looking for?
Vigilante.
Oh,
We're talking about vigilantes. Why didn't we talk about
That
vigilantes?
honestly makes the most sense. Vigilante when you talk about vigilante.
Well, there's a reason we don't talk about him.
Because he's
Weird.
Because of how things end up for him.
All right, Israel. Based off what you heard of Kill or Be Killed, from the movie that you've seen of Watchmen, and the little that you've heard of Rorschach, and then the knowledge that you have on Punisher,
Mhm.
who would you think is the most craziest?
craziest.
And then who would you think is also, because you said your favorite was Punisher. Why?
no, I would say like now
Is it
that we
because he
talked,
looks cool?
I think like
Well-
now that we talked about them, like, did you change your mind?
No, I mean I didn't change my mind on the favorite, but I can, like what I mentioned before. For me, like half of it is the costume. So Rorschach looks awesome, like without a doubt. We even have a figure here, and
I
even
still
that,
can't believe it's still here.
yeah, but even that doesn't, like whenever you see him
Doesn't
live
do it
action
justice.
wise, it
Yeah.
doesn't really do it justice because it looks so cool when you can physically see it. Um, so I think like costume he wins, to be honest. But the Punisher, Frank Castle, him just being a guy who, puts people down for the way he justifies it justifies it in his head that he's doing it to only bad people. Um, I mean, what was I going with this? That's why I like him. Like he's my favorite. For Rorschach, he's just too crazy for me. He's insane. Like I know you guys like him, but you can admit he's insane.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of why we like
That's
it.
part of his appeal.
Like you know, I mean, yeah, it's part of his appeal.
That's why I
That's what
said.
makes you like him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I say. Like he owns it, right? He grabs that craziness and he owns it and he uses it in his favor,
Yeah,
right?
no, for sure, for sure. And what else? And I guess what was his name? Dylan.
Dylan.
This one, it was mentioned before. It just seems like the most realistic of all of them. It was just some guy who I assume was down on his luck for some reason, or bad stuff happened to him. I think you mentioned, and it just a dial turned in his head, and
Let me see that.
from one day to the next, he just turned into.
I will say, when it comes to anti-heroes, I guess I would choose Venom,
Mhm.
but not Lethal Protector Venom. More of like, and not because I'm a huge Donny Cates fan,
Crazy.
but the
evil
Donny
Venom.
Cates Venom run, like the way Eddie Brock in Venom is portrayed, like he's a much mature. Um, basically, he's just a guy that's just trying to survive his life. Finds out he has a son, and now he has to care for his son. But then he like, I don't know, he takes pills to like, I guess, get rid of the venom voice.
They're all trying to make the best of a bad situation. Right? Like
Basically,
they've
yeah.
all been handed bad things and they're just trying to make the best out of it.
Yeah, and it's like, and they see bad guys, they see things going on, and the Venom's just like bad guy, and he's just like, yeah, bad guy, let's go. And then they go and they do it, but like it's more of like he does it because he feels like he has to, because he's already seeing it, and it's like with great power comes great responsibility type thing, where he's just like, well, I'm not gonna look the other way. I'm already seeing a guy getting mugged. Let me go do something about it because I can, and that's basically what it becomes. And then obviously the story goes up and turns out there's a symbiote god and he feels like he's the one that has to stop it. And that's kind of how it goes in King in Black as well. Like there's the Avengers, there's the X-Men, there's the Fantastic Four, and obviously like they all have their own leaders to team, to lead into defeating Null and this whole, apocalypse of symbiotes taking over, and Venom's like they're like, no, Venom, like you're the guy to lead us. And he ends up becoming a leader, that's why I love the story so much, because Venom started off as a villain, as a lethal protector, as he continued, and he was, I guess a lethal protector is what they call him. But then he grew into this more mature character, and that's why, yeah, Venom will probably be my favorite out of all these. I guess out of all the anti-heroes, if you will, because he does kill. He kills the symbiote, kills. He eats them or whatever.
Yeah,
Because
he doesn't just kill Isaac. He eats people.
yeah, and it's like, and obviously it's
In
bad guys,
turn, Eddie Brock eats people.
but like, but Eddie Brock is more mature, and there's times where he even tries to get rid of the symbiote too, because he's like, I don't want to deal with this, and it's not like he's fighting for his life or anything. And then when, spoiler alert, he becomes the King in Black, after defeating Null, um, now he realizes that he has more responsibility, he has to look over the cosmos and all this stuff, and he it like drains him. And in the more recent Venom run, he's like all old and everything. But time hasn't gone by that much. It's just because when you have so much power like that, it drains you, and he becomes weak and old when he's Eddie Brock. He has like a cane and everything, and and then he becomes the symbiote, and he's there. There's a scene where I think it's in the last issue of Donny Cates' Venom, where he's talking to multiple teams at once. He's talking to the Avengers, to X-Men, and Fantastic Four, and then to Spider-Man, all at the same time, because he is, a god basically, and he can multiply himself in symbiotic forms or whatever. And he's there telling them about what may happen in the future, and I don't know, he's just a more mature. I'm just rambling. He's just a more mature anti-hero,
No,
in
but
my
that's why
opinion.
you like him.
Yeah, man.
So Punisher, he's cool, but I think I just like John Bernthal as Punisher, and that's it. Like I prefer the Big Bad Punisher, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Now,
Rorschach, just crazy.
of the three of them, which one do you think had like the worst turning point where they snapped? Whether it's what his family dies.
I think it's Rorschach.
Rorschach. Did
I
you
really
say?
think it's both.
That's a good question.
I'd say the Punisher because, like, what turns Rorschach is a certain case that he works on that makes him like decide, you know what, these people don't deserve understanding; they deserve death, and like that's where he goes.
And you said it was different from how they did in the movie, right?
Yeah,
Just what he says.
that doesn't happen in the movie. I think it would have been too extreme for the movie.
Yeah, so like in the Punisher, what turns him is literally being there, watching his family being shredded by bullets and everything, and God, John Bernthal says it in one of the scenes, and they take it directly from one of the Garth Ennis comics, and it's so horrible, so sad. So like, asterisk. I'm about to say a line from it that's super dark and depressing, so trigger warning or whatever. But he says, what's it called to Daredevil? He says, meat was pouring out of her face, like pouring out of a hole where her face used to be, is how he said it about his daughter. So like he saw that. He saw his kid like just shredded and everything. His entire family. So like I think that's definitely the worst, you know, out of everybody.
Very similar to Rorschach. Rorschach is investigating a crime, and he's looking for a kidnapped child, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Turns out that the guy that kidnapped the child fed her to the dogs, right? So
Yeah,
that's
so,
his turning point.
yeah.
So
I
that
remember
protection of the
seeing
innocence,
that
I don't think we talk about that, right? At the same token, ultimately, the reason they're doing it is for the protection of the innocent, right?
Yeah,
These three.
yeah, they all have an idea that, especially, I think with Rorschach, he's sort of separating himself from what he would consider like the innocence and everything. He's trying to lift himself up to be like heroic, because he like admired his father. He admired, I forget it, one of the presidents.
Mhm.
It was he admired.
Yeah, I remember FDR? No,
No, it was
Teddy Roosevelt.
no.
Don't make me name all the presidents, but
Well, you know all of them.
no.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why I'm saying don't
But
make
yeah,
them.
like he has his figures in
Trump.
his life that he that he admires, and what's it called? Um,
You're so dumb. What is that?
that just
The
threw me
one,
off.
the one president you mentioned. Why would he be referenced in this book?
I don't know.
But anyway, what were we getting at? Now I'm thinking about president.
Protecting of the innocent.
Yes,
Protection of the innocent.
What Rorschach wants to be a hero. That's how he wants to project himself. He wants to become like a hero, and so I think he sees himself like separate from the bad guys and the innocent, he sees himself as like somebody who's watching and everything. While Dylan, I think he sees himself among the innocents, among the people that have been exploited and taken advantage of, and who have very little options in life. And that's why one of the things that makes him very endearing is that he's the little guy of all three of these guys. You have like ex-military, you have a guy who lives in a world of costumed heroes and everything, and then you have Dylan, the little guy, who is empathetic to people around him that are suffering just like he is, and because of that, he cares. And that's the thing that separates, I think, him from everybody is that Rorschach, I think he cares more about his code than he really does care about
the people.
Yeah, and then the Punisher only really cares about the punishing. Like, he cares about those things, but maybe that's not entirely fair because sometimes there are points when you see, because there's a great scene in one of the Garth Ennis stories where he's like watching a crooked cop and getting information, and he sees the guy inside of his house, and he's like talking to his wife, and then he just hits his wife real bad, and you see the look on his face completely change. Then he just like beats the living crap out of the guy after. So he does care about the innocent people and everything, but it's just that he's so almost inhuman the way the Punisher is represented, especially in Ennis's stuff. So it's kind of hard to nail down. And I think that's one of the things that makes Punisher interesting is that, and kind of debated among people, is how far does his humanity go? You know?
And Punisher seems to be the more focused one of the three.
Yeah, yeah.
Dylan is completely all over the place. His targets are all random.
Yeah,
For the most part.
Yeah.
And he even admits it. I can't get to everyone, so I'm just gonna get to whoever I can.
I will say,
whoever I can.
since we only have one viewer, spoiler alert: Punisher's the only one that like is still alive. So there's that.
Yeah,
Dude,
these
that's-
guys that makes it through. These guys, they're
Yeah,
they're
that says
off by the end.
That says a lot about like
Who's strong?
Yeah.
I mean, no, not really.
maybe more the mindset thing. It's like
Like,
because of his mindset.
Yeah, he's very
The-
cool-headed. He knows when. Yeah,
The
Oh,
military training and stuff like that.
that's the help. Poor Dylan has to learn boxing just so he doesn't get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
What
Isaac doesn't do bad words.
We have Tristan. No,
Ass?
not Tristan.
No.
You're supposed to say ass.
And
Basically, like 2 minutes left.
one viewer.
Can I shout out my Instagram? Yes, I do.
Hashtag Gigamon.
But I'm not gonna shout it out.
Alrighty.
This time it's Gigamon.
I'm so glad one person remained. That makes me happy.
Is it Tristan? Tristan, are you still here, bud?
No, he has school tomorrow.
Me too.
Class will start.
I actually need to be there by 7 in the morning. We'll see how it goes.
We'll finish off without you.
But I'll say it's been like months and months since the last episode we did.
Yeah, it's been very busy.
Tough
Mm-hmm.
in the
It was very last minute. I thought of it very last minute, but it's because I wanted to announce that we're no longer doing it. No, I'm kidding.
Why?
No, but I don't know when we'll do the next one. It's supposed to be every 2 weeks, but
We need consistency to make the
Yeah,
views
I
go
know,
up.
but it's because we've been so busy, and then we have Anime Fiesta coming up.
There will be the day when we, there will be the day when we have like 200 people watching us, guys. You'll see.
Someday.
You have to just grind at it.
So if you want to be a special guest, the one viewer watching us,
The thing is, like, a lot of people actually watch it like after.
Later.
yeah.
But yeah,
It's
so like
it's a tough schedule.
we're sorry if we were all over the place and a little
It's
disorganized.
sick.
Oh!
What?
I think it's me.
Why do you want?
Dude, get off and see. We'll see.
No, it says 2 views now.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Sounds so close. But yeah, like we apologize if
one
we were a
again.
little all over the place this episode.
My ribs hurt. Oh my god.
Yeah, next podcast will be about Daredevil. So hope you guys are ready to.
Is that set in stone?
Yes, you have till then to finish all 3 seasons.
We'll talk later about it then.
My alarm.
Yeah, we have 2 weeks to watch all 3 seasons, Gabriel.
I can finish it in one night. Just saying.
Is there even that much time?
Let's go. What do you do?
They're an hour long.
No, I just click
I
the
just put on
forward.
fast
just
forward or
with subtitles.
two times speed.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my God.
Only look at the subtitles.
What?
You know, some people don't have names to say who's saying what. So it's like, oh my god, don't do that. Why'd you do that? It's like, who's saying that?
Yeah,
Go watch a GIF of each episode.
yeah.
You've seen those? There's some of SpongeBob. We should do an episode on SpongeBob.
Damn, SpongeBob. But yeah, sorry if this episode was a bit like off the cuff and a little disorganized. We were all over the place, but it had been a long while. It's just a lot of fun to see each other and like gab and stuff. So we appreciate whoever's stuck through and whoever's gonna watch this at a later time and like
For reading material purposes, we do have Punisher, the current run. I don't know what trades we have a Punisher. I feel like we just have Punisher versus Bullseye.
we need to get more Punishers.
It's not available.
Really? None of the.
Yeah, I'll look into it, but it's also because we don't have money.
You have the beautiful signed CGC by.
by Stan Lee, gold signature.
They haven't made the trades yet for the new one, or is it
No,
not yet.
it'll be after the 6th issue comes out, which is the next issue. The first trade should come out.
And then of course we have Watchmen. If you guys want to read more about the Watchmen, that they fun fact, they actually call themselves the Watchmen in the book. Just kidding. I'm kidding.
They did in the movie
I'm
because they
kidding.
didn't even read it.
What's up?
There's a
Suicide
Watchmen.
Squad. But yeah,
What
read.
are we, some kind of Suicide Squad?
That was my favorite.
I literally just
line.
said it and you didn't laugh. And then when Matt says it, you crack up.
I
Yes,
hear you.
he said it right after I said it.
Calling the delivery, Isaac.
Yeah, but you didn't say it like in
It's
the
just
voice.
like the podcast. Nobody hears what I say until Matt repeats it. Just kidding.
You actually talked a lot this time. I'm really glad.
Just about Venom.
In general.
Uh,
You-
this podcast. Matt, you're hosting the next one. You have 3 special guests.
All me.
like the force of the surfers. But yeah, that's it, guys. Oh yeah, and then we have Kill or Be Killed. All 4 volumes.
If you
Yeah.
want the first issue, it's there for $1.
Yeah, we have the $1 one. If you guys want to just read the first issue to start it off, and don't want to spend a lot, it's only $1. There's only like a few left though. It looks like
Closer.
there's only 3 copies. So yeah, that's about it, guys. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you for sticking around a lot.
Bye.
And for the people that rewatch us, leave a like, please, so we know that people are rewatching it.
All right, guys.
Appreciate it.